the story, girl, and welcome to the story of What the Old Man Does Is Always Right. There once was an old man who was poor as poor could be. All he had to his name was his little cottage, and was his little cottage by the ditch, and a horse grazing in the ditch. But he was happy. In fact, he thought himself the duke of all that was his, and the pleasure of his life was his duchess, the old woman who was his wife. Now, this old woman had married this old man when they were both young and full of life, and she had lived long enough to know that you get farther with the old man, that you get further with the duke by encouraging him and lifting him up than you do by beating him down. And so she had made it her rule to always say, what the old man does is always right. Just so happens that the old man was a bit silly and sometimes did things a bit silly, but he always listened to his wife. One day, his wife said, "Oh, my dear Duke, we never ride the old horse anymore, and he's getting a bit fat just grazing in the ditch. Perhaps you could take him into the market and sell him for something that we could use better than a horse." "Why, my dear Duchess, of course," said the old man. "I'll go tomorrow." And so he did. Took the old horse by the bridle and led him off down the path to the market. Well, he was whistling a tune and thinking many silly thoughts in his silly head when he happened to see a farmer just ahead of him with a cow. A cow, thought the old man. Why, that would be good for milk and cream and cheese for the Duchess. A cow is just the thing. "Ho there, my good man," said the old man to the farmer who was leading the cow. "How would you feel about trading your cow for my horse here?" "I'd like that very much indeed," said the farmer, and the bargain was made. Well, the old man was already on his way to the market, even though he'd already made the trade. He was determined to make it to the market that day, and so he led the cow along, very pleased with the trade. And ahead of him, he saw a young man who was driving a sheep in front of him. A sheep, he thought. Why, a sheep be just the thing. Why, a sheep can give milk and cheese just as well as a cow can, but sheep can also give us wool that we can make all of our clothes out of. Yes, that is the very thing. Oh, I say there, my good man, would you be willing to trade your sheep for my cow?" "Most certainly," said the man, and the bargain was made. The man took the cow away, and our old man lifted up the sheep in his hands and began to carry it away. Well, as he was walking along towards market, he had just seen the market in the he had just seen the market in the distance when he saw a young girl with a goose under her arm. A goose! Why, my Duchess was saying to me just the other day that if we only had a goose, we could eat it for Christmas dinner. I should like to please my Duchess. Who shall trade me for my sheep?" "Oh, my good woman," said the old man, "would you be willing to trade your goose for my sheep?" "Very gladly," said she, and the bargain was made, and the old man lifted the goose into his arms and walked into market. Well, as he was looking around at all the stalls and purchases that he could possibly make, he happened to notice a chicken in the middle of the road. A chicken, thought he. Why, that would be just the thing, for it would lay eggs, and there become a whole flock of birds that we could pluck their feathers and eat their eggs for days. Oh, I must find the owner of this hen. And he saw a man come and scoop the hen up. Oh, my dear sir, is that your hen? Why, yes, it is. Oh, would you trade your hen for my goose? Gladly, said the man, and the bargain was made. Well, he took the chicken into his hands, and he was feeling rather thirsty from his long walk and all the bargains he had made when he walked along to the inn where he could buy a drink. But as he was entering, he was just passed by a boy who was carrying a sack, a rather smelly sack. Young lad, what's in that sack? Asked the curious old man. Oh, it's some rotten apples that I'm going to feed to the pigs in the back, said the little boy. A bag of apples, you say? Rotten apples, yes, sir. Well, the old man remembered that their old apple tree that grew right next to their cottage had grown only one apple that whole year before. But his duchess had taken that apple and put it into their cupboard. She said, my duke, as long as we have this apple, we are wealthier than a king. Wealthier than a king, muttered the old man. What's that? Said the little boy. If one apple in our cupboard makes us wealthier than a king, what would a whole sack full of apples? A whole sack full of apples. Oh, young boy, would you trade your sack full of apples for my chicken? You want a sack full of rotten apples, said the little boy. Yes. And the trade was made. The old man took his sack of apples into the inn and paid for a drink and was sipping it happily, setting his apples down next to the stove, when the apples started to bake, being right next to the stove, and split and splutter. He was attracting a lot of attention, especially the attention of two young gentlemen who had pockets full of gold to spend. Two young gentlemen who came from the city but were having a fine time in the country with all of its country silliness. And they went over to the old man and said, Old man, what do you have in your bag there? Oh, a bag of rotten apples. My wife will be so pleased. I think not, said one of the young gentlemen. How did you come by this bag of apples? And the old man told them the whole tale of how he had traded the horse for the cow, and the cow for the sheep, and the sheep for the goose, and the goose for the hen, and the hen for the prize, a bag of rotten apples. Your wife is going to beat you over the head and drive you out of the house, old man, for that trade, said one of the young men, laughing heartily. For certain, indeed, said the other young man. Why, I would wager a sackful of gold coins for it. I would wager 10 sacks, said the first young gentleman. Make it only 1 sack. Your 1 sack of gold against my 1 sack of apples, said the old man. And the wager was made. The 2 young men paid for a cart and horse to drive them back to the old man's house, where his duchess came to the door and embraced her husband. What have you traded, my dear duke? What have you bought for our horse? She didn't even notice the 2 young men who were standing off to the side, eager to hear what she would say. Well, my darling, I traded our horse for a cow. A cow, said the duchess. Why, that will be excellent. Why, that is just the thing. We'll have milk and cream and cheese. But then I saw a sheep, and I traded that cow for the sheep. Why, a sheep is even better, said the old woman happily. Why, sheep can give us all the things a cow can, and some wool to make warm pajamas for the winter. But I traded the sheep for a goose. Oh, my darling. A goose is just the thing for Christmas dinner. How could you have known that is just what I was wanting? But I traded the goose for a hen. A hen? It would be wonderful to have a whole yard full of chickens after the hen lays eggs, said the old woman. But I traded the hen. Two young men leaned in. You traded the hen, said the old woman. Yes, for a bag of apples. For a bag of apples. Rotten apples, said the old Duke happily, grinning. Well, the old Duchess had lived long enough to know that it was better to live life with smiles and cheer rather than with blows and anger. My dear Duke, she said, laying her hands upon his shoulders, how could you have known? I was wanting to make a cake for your return. I know how much you like cakes, but we don't have any sugar in the house, so I went along to borrow some from the school teacher, our neighbor. But he was rather stingy with me. He said that he would not give me any sugar unless I had something to trade for it. I said that you would be coming home and surely have something good from market. He said, no, you wouldn't even come back with a single apple, and slammed the door in my face. Well, now I can give him a whole bag full of apples for his cup of sugar. And she kissed the old Duke on the forehead. My wonderful old man. What my old man says is always right. Well, the two young gentlemen were laughing heartily and were pleased to see how wise this old woman had been. They paid their share, 10 bagfuls of gold. As you can see, it pays to say that what the old man does is always right. The end. I am a story girl, and if you just watch one of my stories this heart-shaped Valentine season, I hope it's this one. You might be thinking that this story is about a silly old man who makes a series of very bad bargains, and it is. However, it's also a story about an old woman who loves her silly husband and is willing to be kind to him rather than angry, so that their house can be peaceful and tranquil, and so she looks on the bright side of life. What are you willing to give up for the people that you love? Perhaps you would be willing to be a bit kinder and less angry. Remember, you are the main character of your life, and you get to choose. Will you be kind or angry? Thank you for joining the story today. I'll see you next time. Bye.